Chapter 1056, Laying Out Arrays. The addition of even one more person would indeed add more strength at a critical juncture. At the time Hao Lei and tens of juniors from the Tang sect were doing everything they could to fight more than a dozen demonic beasts, Mo Ao brought two more comrades and joined the fray, much to Hao Lei's team's happy surprise. Hao Lei, sect master, is being chased by hundreds of bird species demonic beasts and will soon be here. We must join forces to decimate these demonic beasts within a minute, else sect master's plan will be affected, Mo Ao shouted while moving like a lightning bolt and slashed his immortal sword at a demonic beast. As the beast tried to avoid him, the two joined forces and killed it. Hao Lei's complexion changed and he hurriedly shouted back, "Did you tell sect master about our situation here, Mo Ao? If sect master brings those hundreds of bird species demonic beasts here, wouldn't it be very difficult for everyone to escape?" Continuing his onslaught despite his injuries, Mo Ao kept moving to attack other demonic beasts with boiling killing aura. He replied loudly, "The main reason is that sect master will be arranging an array here. You all know his accomplishment in that aspect, so no worries about that. However, we still need to exterminate these demonic beasts first and then help him defend against those hundreds of bird species demonic beasts. We'll be done for if the rest of Horde comes over." Upon hearing that Tang Xiao was going to arrange an array in this place, Hao Lei immediately relaxed. However, after hearing Mo Ao's words, she grew restless again and asked loudly, "You mean, except for those hundreds of birds, there are still other demonic beasts chasing him?" "Thousands more," replied Mo Ao curtly. Hiss. Upon hearing this, be it Hao Lei or the tens of Tang sect disciples, they couldn't help but gasp. Thousands of demonic beasts? If so many demonic beasts caught up with them, wouldn't it be very difficult to completely exterminate them even if sect master arranged the array here? We're still gonna die. Hao Lei couldn't help but sigh inwardly. Then, she loudly shouted, "Everyone, heed my order. We mustn't affect sect master's plan. We must ensure that sect master can arrange the array here even if we all die. Kill all these damned demonic beasts even if we perish with them. Kill. Kill them all." More than 20 disciples of the Tang sect fell into madness, and frantic killing intent overflowed in their eyes. At the moment their eyes turned bloodshot, their momentum and striking power increased rapidly. Some of them, who had experienced numerous fierce battles, even had their potential stimulated further at this time, and broke through to a new realm, causing their true essence energy to crazily surge inside their bodies. Die. Eyes bloodshot and blood vessels on her arms squirming, Hao Lei's true essence wildly surged in her meridians and broke through the previously clogged acupoints. As the new meridians connected, she, who was previously at the late stage of foundation establishment, directly broke through to the golden core stage. The world energy in the surroundings crazily surged towards her from everywhere and rushed into her dantian, finally forming a sesame-sized golden core. Dangerous. Of the dozen demonic beasts, there was only one of them at the golden core stage, causing the rest to look horrified. They could sense that particular human's momentum skyrocketed unceasingly, while the flow of energy frantically surged towards her. Such a phenomenon occurred when their kind had a breakthrough. Escape. The only golden core demonic beast was highly more intelligent than the rest. After struggling for a moment, it immediately gave up attacking the other humans and attempted its best to force back several humans who joined forces to defend before frantically bolting away. Puff. 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 The blood splattered in full bloom as Hao Lei, who just broke through to the golden core stage, killed various demonic beasts. The other Tang sect disciples also fell into a frenzy in their onslaught and killed the rest in just half a minute. Far away from them, a figure flickered towards them with hundreds of demonic beasts hot on his heels. Tang Xiao's speed was extremely fast. When he sensed a very strong aura from a demonic beast dashing from the direction he was heading to, he quickly manipulated the flying sword without hesitation and slashed it forward. Puff. Adding the might of the divine sword, Tang Xiu's strength was on par with a nascent soul stage expert as he struck a heavy blow to the only golden core demonic beast. At the same time, he flicked his fingers and shot 2 silver needles and precisely hit its eyes. Roar. Hollow wails came from the demonic beast, only to be met with Tang Xiu's sneer. His figure slightly flickered and his divine sword erupted its might yet again as its sharp blade pierced the beast directly. An instant after, the divine sword hovered in a curved trajectory and beheaded its head. Tang Xiu then pulled its corpse into the interspatial ring in the blink of an eye. Casualty report, asked Tang Xiu aloud as he dashed towards Hao Lei's team. 18 seriously injured and some have lost their combat power, Sect Master, replied Hao Lei in a shout. The rest can still fight, but their combat effectiveness is affected. Obstruct those bird species demonic beasts to buy me some time, ordered Tang Xiu with a deep voice. I need to arrange the array here. Those beasts will cause great casualties if we can't trap them here. The defense line around the mountain range will be greatly impacted. It's possible that it can be breached, and thousands of demonic beasts could be unleashed on the outside world. Understood. Hao Lei only replied curtly since the sesame-sized golden core in her dantian had nearly absorbed all the true essence inside her meridians, whereas the world energy from the surrounding was still rushing into her system and fusing into the golden core after the refinement. Tang Xiu discovered Hao Lei's condition at this moment. He didn't expect that Hao Lei, who normally didn't stand out, would be the first person to advance to the golden core stage after Gu Xiaoxue, Gu Yin, Tang Guang, and Tang Yin. Although he knew that her cultivation speed was remarkably fast, breaking through at this time was, nonetheless, still too fast. Array, form. At this time, however, he didn't have the leisure to split his focus. He took out a jade stone from his interspatial ring while instantly unleashing his spiritual sense, to cover an area of hundreds of meters. His figure then kept moving and quickly drew a large area of nearly a kilometer in diameter. Shoo. 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 A piece of jade stone was thrown to its respective point. At the same time, he kept releasing his primal chaos force and quickly drew the pattern of the array. Meanwhile, Mo Ao, Hao Lei, and more than 20 disciples of Tang's sect had all unleashed their immortal and magic swords to fight hundreds of bird species demonic beasts. Due to the presence of 2 golden core demonic beasts and hundreds of others in the horde, they were quickly falling under pressure. However, since they also trained in sword formation with more than 20 people collaborating, they formed 2 sword arrays to fend off these bird species demonic beasts, so none of them would die in a short time. Quick! 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 The more critical the situation, the calmer Tang Xiu was. Racing against time made him fall into a particular state of calmness as he drew the array pattern. Time quickly passed by as he drew the cumbersome pattern. A few minutes after, the shadows of thousands of demonic beasts loomed on the distant peaks. Dozens of demonic beasts on par with experts at Golden Core stage had especially crossed through the mountaintop and galloped down to the valley. Puff! A Tang sect disciple was hit by a bird demonic beast. His chest was ripped, leaving a bleeding wound on it, while his body was thrown backward. His absence made a gap in the sword formation and 2 foundation establishment stage demonic beast seized the chance to strike 2 more disciples, and send them flying. Activate. Finally, Tang Xiu activated the geomancy array that covered the area of nearly a kilometer in diameter. The array had both a trapping effect and fierce striking power. Tang Xiu was confident that they could keep harvesting demonic beasts' lives once a large number of them were lured into the formation. As he turned around and saw the Tang sect disciples who were under the onslaught of hundreds of bird species demonic beasts, he fiercely shouted an order, "All of you, retreat and follow me into the array." In a flash, ecstatic looks appeared on the faces of Tang sect disciples who were struggling to fight back. The seriously injured disciples quickly fell back to Tang Xiu while more than 20 others who were fending off the demonic beasts dashed lightning fast in the same direction. "Enter the array," shouted Tang Xiu. In just less than 10 seconds, tens of Tang sect disciples had entered the array and quickly moved to positions in the formation under Tang Xiu's instructions. Whoosh. 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 A group of bird demonic beasts quickly rushed into the range covered by the array. But right after they entered the big array, they found that the world in front of them had suddenly changed with the overwhelming flames that covered the sky and shrouded over them. Roar. Grumble. Ho, ho. Every bird demonic beast that entered the array was struck with maximum fear. The flame was dreadful to them, especially one with such high temperature that made them feel the threat of death. However, no matter how hard they tried to avoid it and spit out their demonic flame, they failed to extinguish these flames. A few of them that could devour, however, looked wild with joy and opened their beaks wide to swallow the flames, only to howl and wail a few seconds after. Their bodies combusted, leaving only their demon cores on the ground. True flame, thunderbolt, lightning grid, hurricane. Tang Xiu placed tens of Tang sect disciples in a safe area and immediately controlled the array, as he began attacking the hundreds of bird species demonic beasts. Flames emerged out of thin air and burned demonic beasts, thunderclaps bolted down and made them dizzy, while lightning bolts burst into the grids, trapping these demonic beasts one after another, while the hurricane tore them apart and caused them to fall one after another. Chapter 1057, Meat Shredder. In the midst of manipulating the array, Tang Xiu carried out a killing frenzy towards the hundreds of bird species demonic beast and shouted, "Oh, distribute 10 holy healing pills to everyone. All of you take a pill and be sure to restore some of your combat power within 5 minutes." "Yes, sir." Moa replied and took out lots of holy healing pills from the interspatial ring. He had a lot of resources in stockpile due to being often following Tang Xiu. After handing over the pills to everyone, he looked up toward Tang Xiu and asked aloud, "What are we going to do next, Sect Master?" "Everyone, begin recuperating. You are to leave the array after 5 minutes towards the outside of the mountain range at your fastest speed," replied Tang Xiu in a deep voice. "Do not engage any demonic beasts you encounter on your way back. Just head to the camp as quickly as possible. Hao Lei, you're to stay here." "Understood," replied Hao Lei respectfully. Her cultivation just broke through to the golden core stage, making her very happy inside. She knew that she'd be rewarded handsomely once she survived and left this mountain range, since Sect Master Tang Xiu had promised that those who broke through to the golden core stage would be rewarded with a lot of resources. After she took the holy healing pill, enormous energy from the medical efficacy began to restore her injuries, while a small portion of it was absorbed by her golden core. The sesame-sized core then doubled in size in just a short while and kept getting bigger at an extremely fast rate. By this crazy rate of absorption of the true essence in my body and the world energy from the outside, the volume of my golden core should increase to the size of rice shortly. I can feel that I'm at least 4 times stronger than before." Hao Lei contentedly looked up and asked Tang Xiu, "Sect Master, would you like me to help you?" "It won't be needed for a while. But I want you to gather all the demonic beasts' corpses in 2 minutes. Also, remember not to miss any fallen demon cores." "Oh, give an invisibility charm to Hao Lei." "I remember you should have a few left," replied Tang Xiu in a deep voice. Moa complied and passed the charm to Hao Lei, saying, "Restrain your aura after you wear it and activate it, so no humans nor demonic beasts can see you. But do remember to avoid the demonic beasts." Hao Lei only heard the existence of this invisible charm before but never saw it, and thus became a bit excited at this moment as she nodded in response. Moa himself looked at her with a complicated face. He could sense her current cultivation level from the leaking aura. Breaking through to golden core stage was something he had been dreaming of. He was aware that he was lacking in talent for cultivation and thus dared not to relax in practice. Yet, Hao Lei had unexpectedly advanced to the golden core stage and he lost the chance to snatch the first title for it. Much to his envy, Sect Master Tang Xiu now gave her some tasks due to her breakthrough, the tasks that used to be his before. I gotta practice and cultivate crazily. I must break through to the golden core stage at the fastest speed. I don't care if I must pay a price for it. Only after I have advanced to the golden core stage can I be qualified to be Sect Master's right-hand man again. Clenching his fists, Mo vowed inwardly. While still operating the array, Tang Xiu kept observing the outside world. Of the thousands of demonic beasts running on the ground, tens of them could rival a demonic beast at golden core stage, and they were less than 200 meters away from the array now. But hundreds of bird species demonic beasts were now being slaughtered inside the formation despite their desperate struggling. Hao Lei, we can't wait for 2 minutes. Go collect those demonic beasts' corpses now, shouted Tang Xiu. In a flash, under Tang Xi's instruction, Hao Lei quickly entered the area where the bird species demonic beasts were being attacked. Shock was evident on her face when she saw the remaining 100+ demonic beasts from the previous several hundred were struggling desperately to fend off various attacks. Hurry up, shouted Tang Xiu. Suppressing the shock and dispersing the thoughts surging in her mind, Hao Lei quickly collected the demonic beasts' corpses and demon cores into the interspatial ring. Since there was no following order from Tang Xiu, she didn't rush to leave and just watched as the bird-like demonic beasts kept dying while keeping her speed in collecting their corpses. It's done. Right at the moment tens of demonic beasts charged into the array, Tang Xiu looked at Hao Lei and shouted. Hao Lei herself also saw as tens of demonic beasts rushed inside all of a sudden, and none of them had an aura weaker than hers. Such a discovery sent a chill down her back and she almost instantly bolted towards the safety zone. Oh, get ready to evacuate the rest in 2 minutes, ordered Tang Xiu in a deep tone. The fella glanced at Hao Lei first before nodding. Understood. Time flew by, and about less than 4,000 demonic beasts had all charged into the array. The biggest one who acted as their commander turned more enraged and frenzied after facing the various attacks from the array. Focus and centralize the attacks. As it ordered with a roar, thousands of demonic beasts suddenly locked on an area over the sky and attacked that spot one after another. They literally unleashed everything, be it their demonic flame or other means, all using their full force. Tang Xiu, who was still controlling the array, suddenly shook and blood flew out from his 7 orifices. He could even feel that his internals was as though burning. God damn it. These demonic beasts truly know how to break through the line by brute force. To think that they also know to attack one spot at the same time. If they keep attacking like this array will only last for a few minutes more before they fully break it. As he thought about this point, Tang Xiu raised his hand to wipe off the blood on his face and shouted heavily, take everyone and evacuate immediately. There are too many demonic beasts here, and their striking power is beyond my calculations. Hurry up. Hao Lei, go and evacuate with them too. I'll catch up with you all later. Mo and Hao Lei exchanged glances and nodded at the same time, then simultaneously grabbed the comrades who had lost their combat power and were gravely injured. They quickly left the array under Tang Xiu's guidance. After finding a safe direction, all of them quickly bolted toward the mountain range. At the epicenter of the array, Tang Xiu stood with a face that was chilling to the extreme. He still didn't give up even though thousands of demonic beasts attacked the array at the same time and caused a big shock to him. But for each and every second, several demonic beasts were severely injured after getting struck by the array and many weaker ones were even killed directly. He persevered. Even just half a minute of insisting here would kill and reduce the number of demonic beasts, lessening the threat they would pose to humans in the future. Time passed by. The array now was as though it had become a meat grinder. Thousands of demonic beasts were shrieking, roaring, and yet still kept attacking. The more creaking and cracks appeared in the array, the heavier Tang Xiu's injuries became, until the jade set as its base finally shattered. Collect. As his thought moved, Tang Xiu released his spiritual sense, plundering demonic beasts' corpses and its demon cores and quickly collecting them into his interspatial ring. It only took him a few seconds to harvest hundreds of demonic beasts' corpses and their demon cores. There's only half a minute left. Based on his judgment, he would lose control of the array and could only hold on for half a minute before the remaining demonic beasts destroyed it. He no longer hesitated and bolted out of the array. His speed burst made him look like a lightning bolt zooming away. 20 seconds later, he appeared several kilometers away. His figure had already escaped into a mountain crevice the moment the array shattered. He was as though smoke above the white snow as he trekked across the mountain crevice and quickly appeared at the end of another mountain. "Oh, send me your coordinates." Tang Xiu took out the communicator and quickly sent a message to Mo. Quickly after, the latter replied. After heading to the precise coordinates sent by Mo, he quickly caught up with them and gave a helping hand to heal the seriously wounded. Then, he said in a deep tone, "We must race against time to leave the interior of this mountain range. We'll recuperate later after we are outside." Of those several thousands of demonic beasts, we killed at least 1,000 of them. I'm not sure about their remaining numbers, but we've done all we can here, so what happens next is up to fate. But be sure to get ready for action. Tens of Tang sect disciples were crystal clear about the meaning in Tang Xiu's words. However, all of them were shocked upon hearing the array was able to exterminate nearly 1,000 demonic beasts. The way they saw it, Tang Xiu was now completely different, for they were certainly aware of the power that could be unleashed by an array. It secretly made them decide to visit the library pavilion once they came back to Nine Dragons Island, so they could pick up array manuals and study them and strive to become array formation masters. 2 hours later, Tang Xiu led tens of his men and finally came out of the mountain range, appearing near the blockade line. They encountered tens of demonic beasts on the way back, but all of them were personally killed by him. Ugly Town. Inside the olive green military tent, Duanmu Lin was sitting cross-legged in recuperation. Just half an hour ago, hundreds of demonic beasts had attacked the Western Front, forcing him to lead his men in the defense. He suffered injuries as a result but routed the demonic beasts, consuming a lot of his energy. "We got a new situation, Chief." The member of the Special Abilities Bureau responsible for looking at the LCD monitor suddenly turned around and called out loudly. Duanmu Lin's eyes instantly opened and looked at him. He dashed towards the LCD screen, looked at it and asked quickly, "What exactly is the situation?" While pointing to the surveillance screen, that agency member replied, "The previous horde of demonic beasts was just spotted on the 42nd surveillance area, Chief. However, I found it very strange since some of them have been injured and their numbers seem to have been reduced compared to the previous statistic." Chapter 1058, Speculations. Eyes fixated on the surveillance screen, Duanmu Lin observed it for a while and found that the number of the horde had indeed reduced from the previous 4,000 demonic beasts. Many of them had severe injuries and apparently had just gone through a battle. Count the number of demonic beasts on this surveillance screen immediately. He had a vague guess in mind, yet his conjecture made him feel dread regardless. Therefore, he wasn't sure whether his guess was accurate. Quickly after, several members of the agency began to count the number of demonic beasts on the surveillance screen. After the calculations, they found the number to be more than 3,280. More than 900 of them are gone? Duanmu Lin's expression turned unusually quaint, adding to his suspicion that his guess hit the mark. He grabbed a communicator to call Tang Xiu's, but then hesitated. He was afraid that Tang Xiu was in dire strait right now and his call would make things worse. Suddenly, that agency member frowned and muttered, "Weird. The previous surveillance showed that there were hundreds of bird species demonic beasts. But how come they suddenly disappeared? But now, there are lots of feathers and blood on the ground?" Duanmu Lin's face shifted. His pupils suddenly contracted and a horrified look appeared on his face. He vaguely felt that something was amiss with the horde of demonic beasts shown on the screen. But he couldn't figure out what the problem was. After the reminder from this agency member, he instantly realized that the bird species demonic beasts turned out to have disappeared. Could it be that all those bird species demonic beasts had been killed? After standing dumbfounded for a long time, Duanmu Lin immediately turned around, ran outside the tent, shouting, "Follow me to the blockade line and wait for Tang Xiu to return." At the blockade line, Hun Sen and Jiang Shuisheng led their people and watched the direction of the mountain range interior with experts from the Special Abilities Bureau. They had received a notice in advance that several thousands of demonic beasts had been gathering and were very likely to charge the defensive line. Hence, they dared not be negligent. Director Duanmu. As the two men saw Duanmu Lin coming, they called the latter respectfully. They heard that Duanmu Lin went to the Western Front previously and led the battle against several hundreds of demonic beasts, exterminating them completely. Yet, he was also injured in the process. After seeing a few wounds on his body, only then did they realize that the news was true. With burning eyes, Duanmu Lin asked in a deep voice, "Has Tang Xiu's group come back yet?" "No," Hun Sen shook his head. The answer made Duanmu Lin fall into silence for a moment. Then, he slowly said, "If my guess is correct, Tang Xiu and his men should have done a big thing in the depths of the mountain range. I'm not 100% sure what they did, so I need him to return to confirm." "Your conjecture? What is it?" Director Duanmu asked Hun Sen curiously. "The surveillance footage from the interior of mountain range shows that more than 4,100 demonic beasts were gathering. But after some time, their position changed since they were all chasing Tang Xiu. But not long after, their number sharply reduced, and only 3,200 remained. I suspect that nearly 1,000 demonic beasts must have been exterminated by Tang Xiu and his men." "That's impossible." "What a big joke." Hun Sen and Jiang Shuisheng blurted out at the same time with disbelief on their faces. A bit of disdain could also be seen in their eyes. They could kill more than 1,000 demonic beasts? Just when those demonic beasts turned into aged chickens that they could be killed so easily? At their response, Duanmu Lin forced a smile and said, "I can't believe it either, but the footage has shown this. And after Tang Xiu was chased by those demonic beasts made me make this conjecture. After all, exterminating 1,000 demonic beasts where hundreds of them are bird species is kind of unbelievable in and of itself." "Director Duanmu, I don't think you can resort to guesswork this time." Hun Sen sneered. "Even if Tang Xiu is a celestial being or something like an immortal, there's no way he can kill thousands of demonic beasts in such a short time. I know you highly value him, and I also think that he's very powerful. But it's better to abandon the idea of adding brilliance to him." "I think Hun Sen's argument is sound," Jiang Shuisheng approved. "Tang Xiu does have some abilities since he's at the Golden Core stage. But can he kill thousands of demonic beasts with his current cultivation level? That's simply impossible. Director Duanmu, I don't think it's wrong to value people highly, but there's no bottom line for delusions. It's just absurd." Duanmu Lin opened his mouth but was at a loss of how to argue back. He could get where Hun Sen and Jiang Shuisheng came from, as it was also what he thought. Hun Sen shifted his focus to the interior of the mountain range again and said, "Director Duanmu, you're the person who knows the clearest about those demonic beasts. Even if we all work together and can kill about 1,000 of them, I think you're also crystal clear of how big the price we must pay to achieve it. Most of Tang Xiu's men have returned and there are only 40 of them remaining in the depths of the mountains aside from Tang Xiu and Mo Ao's group. With such a small number of people, just to protect themselves from the thousands of demonic beasts is already a big issue, let alone killing demonic beasts. I just want to say that the 1,000 demonic beasts are probably heading somewhere else, or likely avoiding our surveillance before hitting our defensive line." Duanmu Lin's heart tightened. He was exactly worrying that such a thing would happen. After all, the previous attacks from demonic beasts only numbered at most a few hundred beasts at one time. Fighting the tide of nearly 1,000 demonic beasts would definitely pose a huge threat to them. Yet, one thing remained. What about Tang Xiu? Logically speaking, it had already been half a day, shouldn't he have returned by now? Tell everyone to prepare for the next battle. We'll wait here. While praying secretly for Tang Xiu to safely escape from the pursuit of demonic beasts' horde, Duanmu Lin ordered. He knew that Tang Xiu was the spiritual pillar for his men. If something were to happen to him, it would seriously affect their performance in the following battles. Whoosh! Whoosh! Two figures flickered and moved lightning fast from Ugly Town. In just a blink of an eye, they appeared in front of Duanmu Lin, Hun Xin, and Jiang Shuisheng. Jin Shi, Yi Shi-san, how are your injuries recovering? Asked Duanmu Lin quickly upon seeing them. Thanks for the concern, Director Duanmu. Our injuries have mostly convalesced, and we can join the battle at any time, replied Jin Shi. His answer made Duanmu Lin feel relieved. He nodded and said, Tang Xiu hasn't come back yet. There should be something that troubling him in the mountains. Just take your time to recuperate. You can enter the mountains to help them when you've completely healed. Negative. Jin Shi shook his head and said, I just received a notice from Sect Master that they are coming out from the interior and should be arriving here soon. Director Duanmu, please rest assured. We believe in the abilities of our Sect Master. His answer shocked Duanmu Lin, and he hurriedly asked, You mean Tang Xiu and the rest are out of danger and now are heading outside? That's correct. Jin Shi nodded. Did Tang Xiu tell you what happened to the horde of demonic beasts? Asked Duanmu Lin hurriedly. Did he tell anything of how the horde indescribably lost nearly 1,000 demonic beasts? You know, in particular, there's nothing left from those bird species ones. No, Jin Shi shook his head and answered. The sovereign just told me that many of our martial brothers and sisters have serious injuries and need to be treated promptly, hence why we came to meet them. Having said that, he turned his head to look at the direction of Ugly. Tens of Tang sect disciples who only had minor injuries and those that had almost fully recovered from their injuries were seen carrying stretchers and catching up fast. Duanmu Lin himself fell into contemplation for a while. Then, he resolutely said, Since Tang Xiu told you to fetch them up, then we shall head to the mountain range interior to meet them immediately. We can rescue them in time in case they encounter demonic beasts on the way here. Jin Shi gave it a thought before nodding. Let's set off then. After a few minutes and a few kilometers into the mountain range interior, they saw a group of humans who looked like they just crawled out of hell appear. Scarred and bleeding wounds, decorated and blood dyed their bodies, while traces of blood that had just been wiped off could be seen near their 7 orifices. Wretched and extremely miserable were the perfect words. Duanmu Lin, Hun Xin, Jiang Shuisheng, and the rest may have seen many tragic scenes, yet they were still shocked after seeing Tang Xiu's men's appearances. They simply couldn't imagine how terrible the battles Tang Xiu and his men had gone through in the depths of the mountains were. Tang Xiu. Lips twitching, Duanmu Lin's words stopped in his throat. All he could do was raise his right hand and give a thumbs up to Tang Xiu and the tens of Tang sect disciples. Tang Xiu himself just grinned in response. His injuries were anything but light. Especially the burning sensation he could feel from his internal organs that made it a bit difficult for him to breathe. Despite so, he still squeezed out a faint smile, shook his head and said, We're seriously injured and need prompt treatment, Senior Duanmu. But you can rest assured. The horde of demonic beasts shouldn't be charging out to attack us, at least for the time being, though I'm not sure for how long. But it's best that everyone makes some preparations. Duanmu Lin touched his chest, feeling that breathing was much smoother. Then, he replied aloud, Hurry up and recuperate then, Tang Xiu. You can leave those demonic beasts to us. As long as we're alive, we won't let them disturb your recuperation in the camp. Everyone. Hurry up and tend to the gravely injured on the stretchers and immediately return to Ugly. Quickly, more than 10 gravely injured people were placed on the stretchers, while members of Tang's sect who were still able to move hurriedly followed the team. On the way back, Duanmu Lin's eyes lingered on Tang Xiu. After enduring for a minute or so, he was finally unable to bear his urge to ask, "Tang Xiu, there's one thing I want to ask you, and I hope you can answer it seriously." Chapter 1059, Immersing in Cultivation. The surveillance footage in the camp showed that there were more than 4,100 demonic beasts gathering in the mountain range interior then, but there are only around 3,200 of them now. And in particular, those bird species demonic beasts are all gone. Can you tell me what happened? In an instant, Hun Sen and Jiang Shuisheng also pricked their ears with eyes fixated on Tang Xiu. "They were all killed by us," answered Tang Xiu smilingly. "But you see the price we paid." "That's impossible." Hun Sen greatly admired Tang Xiu, but he still voiced his disbelief aloud. "That was nearly 1,000 demonic beasts, Tang Xiu, not 10 or 100. There are also more than 3,000 more of them there, 10 times the number of your men. There's no way you can kill that many demonic beasts, no? It's indeed impossible, and we wouldn't be that confident in killing so many demonic beasts if we resorted to normal means. Let alone killing them, protecting ourselves would have been a tall order," replied Tang Xiu with a red face. "However, I arranged an array and used its might to attack them and thus, was able to do so." "You got any proof?" asked Hun Sen in a deep voice. "All the remains of the demonic beasts are in my interspatial ring." Tang Xiu lightly smiled and said, "Senior Hun Sen, you should know about interspatial rings, shouldn't you? It's like storage prop, a unique magical treasure for us, cultivators." Hun Sen's pupils contracted, incredulity overflowing from his eyes. He never dreamed that Tang Xiu had a storage magical tool like an interspatial ring. Neither did it occur to him that they not only killed nearly 1,000 demonic beasts but also brought back their remains. How on earth did he do that? It was something he couldn't believe, but Tang Xiu gave him the proof with the demonic beast's remains, so he had no choice but to believe it. He knew that it was impossible for Tang Xiu to lie about it with such proof. Great shock also filled Duanmu Lin's heart. He observed Tang Xiu's tranquil expression but didn't know what he should say. Only tens of people resorting to a geomancy array, yet they were actually able to kill nearly 1,000 demonic beasts. Wasn't such a terrifying result too heaven-defying? In that instant, Duanmu Lin seemed to realize something. His eyes lit up and his pace came to an abrupt stop. "What happened, Senior Duanmu?" Tang Xiu stopped his pace, turned his head and asked in surprise. Staring at Tang Xiu, Duanmu Lin asked while underlining every word he said, "Tang Xiu, if we are to ask you to arrange a geomancy array to surround the Himalayas, are you confident we can stop those demonic beasts?" At his question, Tang Xiu nodded and answered, "I'm confident it can be done. But the materials needed to arrange the array will be enormous. Especially the array, it must cover a long distance. The scope will vast. Hence, the number of materials needed will be terrifyingly huge." An exciting look covered Duanmu Lin's face as he asked aloud, "I can get them for you, no matter how much you need. Just tell me, what materials are needed? I'll write you a list of the materials needed when we return to the encampment later," Tang Xiu said with a smile. "Great." Duanmu Lin laughed and contentedly said, "I just knew it that I'd still need to rely on you to fend off those demonic beasts. You know, you have given me tons of surprise." "That's overpraising, Senior Duanmu," said Tang Xiu humbly. "If it wasn't for the many friends from the cultivation world who also acted in this effort, the demonic beasts would have brought havoc and disaster to the outside world already. The merits belong to everybody." Duanmu Lin smiled and nodded while watching Tang Xiu's face with appreciation. At this time, the way Hun Sen and Jiang Shuisheng looked at Tang Xiu was completely different from before. The two men previously thought that Tang Xiu was just a young man who didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth, only relying on his small achievement in cultivation, yet being conceited due to that. But after getting along for a short while, only then did they find how off the mark their thoughts were. Tang Xiu not only had formidable strength and numerous means, but also possessed a steady mind and mature character. He didn't fall into arrogance and was still modest even though he had made a great contribution. Pacing a step forward, Hunsen apologetically said, "Tang Xiu, I have to apologize for my previous attitude towards you. Further, I shouldn't have questioned your ability, nor did I vilify you to be conceited. I hope you can forgive me for that. There are only a few people I admire in this world, but you're definitely one of them." Jiang Shuisheng echoed and nodded. "That's true. I'm already an old man, Tang Xiu. But I find myself inferior to you in a lot of things. I hope you don't mind my attitude for judging you by your appearance before." Tang Xiu waved and smilingly said, "Gentlemen, you both can be called as seniors in the cultivation world, but you two bravely stand up when the country is in crisis. That's already worthy of admiration in and of itself to me, so I don't, and can't, blame you for that. Besides, our next priority is to stop the attack of those demonic beasts. We must go all out to hunt and exterminate all the demonic beasts on Earth, to begin with. That's why we'll need to cooperate well and fight side by side." Hunsen and Jiang Shuisheng exchanged glances, not expecting that Tang Xiu would be so broad-minded. He didn't seem to mind the slander they hurled at him before. What an outstanding character. The two men finally gave such a high evaluation in their hearts. Shortly after, Tang Xiu and the rest returned to the encampment. All the gravely wounded went into recuperation, while Tang Xiu quickly listed the materials needed to arrange the array and gave it to Duanmu Lin. After which, he immediately began to heal himself. His injuries were anything but light. Being attacked by thousands of demonic beasts, even though the power that transmitted was to him through the array was just 1/10 of their original might, it was still unusually terrifying when added up. Fortunately, he was cultivating the top cultivation art from the demon realm, the heavenly art of cosmic genesis, which focused on physique tempering. Had it been an ordinary cultivator, even if they had broken through to the nascent soul stage, they would have been killed by such a huge impact. Each of the 3 big stages was a level themselves. And the second big stage of the heavenly art of cosmic genesis was the star's heavenly essence, which was also split into 9 layers. Tang Xiu had just advanced to this big stage, making his strength extremely formidable. The second big stage not only tempered his physique but also enabled him to unleash the power in his dantian to the outside world, to go straight to the sky and echo with the stars in the universe, thus enabling supernatural abilities based on astral power. However, due to some fated encounter in the process of his cultivation, it caused Tang Xiu to form a universe in his dantian while he was still at the first big stage, the star's tyrannical body. Although the planets were still tiny, it was very beneficial to Tang Xiu since it helped him to connect to the stars in the universe, resulting in a 100-fold increase in his cultivation speed. "I've consumed too much primal chaos force. My spiritual sense is heavily damaged and got me quite severe internal injuries." Tang Xiu, who was sitting cross-legged in a military tent, quickly checked his body. A forced smile was cast on his handsome face. He knew how bad the current condition of his body was. But it turned out that it was worse than he previously thought after careful inspection. After stuffing the holy healing pill into his mouth, Tang Xiu grabbed 2 demon cores. He slowly closed his eyes and began to absorb and refine the slowly while healing himself so as to supplement his primal chaos force and mental power. After 2 hours passed by, he slowly opened his eyes and felt satisfied. The effect of the holy healing pill was remarkable. His internal injuries had been mostly healed and he had recovered the consumed primal chaos force and mental power as well. Although he had yet to restore to his peak power, it would no longer affect his body. "Ever since I've broken through to the second stage, the star's heavenly essence, I haven't tried to communicate with the hundreds of millions of stars in the universe, neither have I absorbed stars' power into the planets in my dantian. Most importantly, I never tried to activate any astral-based divine abilities. I used to think that it was not yet the time, so I haven't done it. But I can no longer delay it since humanity is now facing a crisis. Tang Xiu took a deep breath and instantly released the primal chaos power in his body to the outside world. As the energy instantly streaked up into the sky, his spiritual sense also followed along the primal chaos to the vault of heaven. A sense of wonder filled his heart the moment after. The distance his spiritual sense could reach was previously just several hundred meters, but after fusing it with his primal chaos power, it now was able to reach thousands of miles and kept rising. Universe, stars, and their powers. Tang Xiu's spiritual sense fused into his primal chaos power into the stars above. At the same time, he was able to feel the power of thousands of stars. Even the dead stars still have energy within. It turns out that no matter the life form, be it alive or dead, all have energy. Only the essence of their energy is different. The dead stars, likewise, also possess energy, and they are still useful to me. It seems that the heavenly art of cosmic genesis is very abstruse and magical. It can actually tolerate and contain all kinds of energy and finally transform them into my own strength. Tang Xiu silently contemplated and secretly rejoiced that he had obtained such a mysterious cultivation art. Otherwise, he would have barely been able to step into the cultivation path on Earth with his previous cultivation technique. Even if he was able to, his cultivation speed wouldn't be so fast, and it would have been impossible to integrate his spiritual sense with the universe, observing how the cosmos worked and operated, nor absorbing such astral powers. Huh? Suddenly, Tang Xiu's expression shifted and his body slightly shivered. His spiritual sense that was wandering in the boundless universe and constantly in contact with the stars gave him a shock, since he discovered there was still a living planet in the remote part of the universe. That's right. He could feel the star soul of that planet. It had an extremely tenacious life force and kept absorbing energy from the universe to keep itself alive. The surface of the planet itself had sources of water, flame, and even thin oxygen in its atmosphere. However, after he observed it more carefully, he judged that the concentration of oxygen was very low, while there was also a very rich particular gas there. The life forms on this planet were absorbing this special gas to guarantee their reproduction and survival. It's very far away but can still be reached, regardless. The discovery made him recall the remains of 3-star vestige in the deep sea. If he could repair that interstellar battleship, he could ride it to traverse the universe and visit that planet with life forms. Chapter 1060, Genuinely Powerful. Absorb. Tang Xiu attempted to ingest the special energy gas. To his surprise, that particular gas was very easy to absorb. It was 100 times easier than absorbing the energy of other dead stars. This special energy gas was like a flood that passed across the universe to quickly pierce the Earth's atmosphere, and finally entered his body. Bang! Tang Xiu's body trembled. An enormous aura surged and spread in all directions, shocking everyone else in the encampment area. A look of fear was evident on the faces of cultivators and army soldiers as the huge aura suppressed every one of them, causing them to run away. In just a minute, there was nobody left in a 2 kilometers radius. Everyone was 2 kilometers away and focused their eyes on Tang Xiu's direction. "Who is it?" asked Duanmu Lin aloud with a shocked face. Whoosh! 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 Several figures quickly appeared in front of him. The one in front, Mo, said in a deep voice, "Director Duanmu, we've looked into it. Our sect master hasn't come out, so if my guess is correct, this huge aura should be caused by our sovereign." Tang Xiu? Duanmu Lin gasped before slowly nodding. "I should have known. Only Tang Xiu can cause such a big ruckus. Anyway, what's he doing? Why did he leak out such an enormous aura? I have no idea either." Mo shook his head and said, "But everything the sovereign does has always been beyond anyone's imagination. Director Duanmu, given the increasingly stronger aura leaking out from our sect master, this means that his condition is excellent. However, you need to rearrange everything here because I don't know when sect master will finish and when this aura will disappear. No worries. I'll arrange it. Duanmu Lin heavily nodded and said, it's definitely a good thing if Tang Xiu can make a breakthrough. Not far away from them, Hun Sen and Jiang Shuixing both looked shocked as they talked. I've observed things here. Except for Tang Xiu, nobody else has come out of the camp. It seems that the person who released such a fearsome aura is none but him. I noticed that, too. That Tang Xiu, to what extent does his strength has reached? Although I haven't met any expert at the nascent soul stage, I think there are no powerhouses at nascent soul stage who can release such a fearsome aura, right? It should be. But the more powerful he is, the less dangerous the crisis we're about to face. I'm even hoping that he can get stronger soon.
Yeah,
you're right. The two men looked in the direction of the camp. It was a look full of respect. The strong would indeed always be respected regardless of era and environment. Time fleeted by. Tang Xiu was unaware of the situation he just created due to him absorbing the energy from a living planet. But due to him constantly absorbing the energy of the stars in the starry sky, a star in the universe formed inside his body gradually became brighter and now looked like living fireflies. A particularly bigger planet that kept growing was especially expanding at an extremely fast rate, after being infused with the astral power. He even noticed its size increase at every minute and second. Half an hour later. Deep in the interior of the Himalayas, a demonic beast the size of a two-story building silently appeared near the blockade line. In that instant, the faces of hundreds of cultivators defending their drastically changed. The terrifying demonic beast, however, just stopped there and cast a solemn look toward Ugly Town. It could also sense a fearsome aura increasing. This particular aura was even much stronger than the aura released by its leader. Doesn't matter. Nothing can stop the march of the blood fiend monarch. He'll soon wake up and doom this planet. That damned sky pillar, sacred demon. If it wasn't for your relentless pursuit, my king wouldn't have been that desperate to escape, fall into the space crevice and be exiled to this wretched place. We've long been trapped here. Far too long. This wretched place is even worse than the immortal world's environment. For hundreds of thousands of years, this damn world array is even making our life so hard and even weakening our power to the limit. We'll kill and exterminate all walks of life of this place to begin our path of return to re-enter the demon realm. And you, Skypillar Sacred Demon, you will pay the price for offending my king. The terrifying demonic beast looked up to the sky and roared. It then fiercely stomped its feet, sending tremors to the world. All the cultivators at the defensive line, especially the weak ones, were shaken as the roar shook their life force. Blood flowed from their 7 orifices as they were nearly killed by the shock wave. The instant after, the terrifying demonic beast left, flying back to the depths of the Himalayas. At Ugly Town. Tang Xiu's face, who was still in the military tent, suddenly changed slightly. As he opened his eyes, he fully disconnected his power to communicate with the stars in the universe. His figure flickered and disappeared from the tent. His hazy figure that was blurred to the naked eyes then appeared outside the blockade line, garnering the attention of the cultivators' eyes at the ready. What a fast speed! The faces of tens of cultivators there greatly changed. They were immediately shocked upon seeing that it was Tang Xiu. Although they had seen him and his men coming out from the interior of the mountain range, however, they didn't know the great achievements Tang Xiu had performed. Yet, after they sobered up, they also looked surprised and a bit joyful. That fearsome demonic beast just now brought them a deep threat of death, making them feel like their hearts fell into a glacier. Seeing how powerful Tang Xiu was just like giving them a tranquilizer agent that made them feel relieved. Tang Xiu's eyes were so bright and sharp. With hands crossed behind his back, he cast a deep gaze into the mountain range interior. Although he didn't see that horrifying demonic beast's form, the savage, violent aura it leaked out gave him a shock regardless. He could sense that the strength of this demonic beast was at least at the late stage of nascent soul. Late stage of nascent soul. Even if his strength had advanced by leaps and bounds after communicating with the heavenly bodies in the universe, and absorbing a huge amount of astral power, he could tell that he wasn't a match for this demonic beast. Unless either Yen, Ji Chime, or Star Devourer insect to take action, I'm afraid that fearsome demonic beast can only be killed by the joint forces of Shuiyu and I. Shuiyu has obtained an inheritance that propelled her cultivation power to the spirit formation stage, but I don't know how much power she can unleash after undergoing Yan's training. Tang Xiu contemplated in silence for a while. Then, he took out his communicator to dial Shuiyu's cell number. However, he furrowed his brows since he only received a notification that the number couldn't be reached temporarily. Then, Tang Xiu dialed Gu Xiaoxue's number. After his call was connected, he spoke, "Hello, Xiaoxue." "It's me, Grand Master," replied Gu Xiaoxue with a respectful voice. "Do you need anything from me?" "Where's Shuiyu now?" asked Tang Xiu. "She has been in closed-door cultivation with Master for a long time and hasn't come out," said Gu Xiaoxue. "She should still be in the exquisite pagoda, I think. Go there and ask how it's going with her seclusion progress." Tang Xiu ordered. "If it's okay, tell her to call me back." "Understood." Tang Xiu hung up and put the phone away. He then turned his head to look at the cultivators who rushed over. Finally, his eyes landed on Duanmu Lin. "Senior Duanmu." Tang Xiu greeted and nodded with a smile. Duanmu Lin looked at him like he was looking at a monster. He even circled around Tang Xiu a few times under everyone's watchful eyes before probing. "Tang Xiu, what exactly is your current cultivation level after the breakthrough? Did you just advance to the nascent soul stage?" Tang Xiu chuckled and said, "Didn't I already tell you that I practice a different cultivation art from that of common cultivators? I told you I can't even form a nascent soul and whatnot. But if I have to fight those at nascent soul stage, I'm confident that I won't be defeated. But what I'm talking about is those at the early stage of nascent soul. I'm still no match to those at the late stage, though." He was covering up the truth. It was something he had decided because he needed all the remains of demonic beasts. Precisely, the demon cores in their bodies. Upon hearing his reply, Duanmu Lin didn't doubt Tang Xiu's statement at all. He instead looked pleasantly surprised as he nodded heavily with praise. "I heard your disciples have innate gifts and unusual aptitude for cultivation, Tang Xiu. Now it seems that you have some unusual gifts and talent yourself since you can make such a big breakthrough in just a short time. Well, it's not like I can take back my words either." "No worries. A promise is a promise. I've talked with the other cultivators, so you can have all the remains of demonic beasts. I've sent people to send the demonic beasts' corpses to where your men are stationed." Tang Xiu's face shifted and he curiously asked, "Mind telling me how many of them are there?" "Well, Aquababe already made the count. The total number is 645, said Duanmu Lin smilingly. "But that's outside the number of demonic beasts you and your men killed, of course." 645? Tang Xiu became excited inwardly. These demonic beasts were treasures to him. Like, literally. Be it the materials from their bodies or their demon cores, they were all greatly beneficial to him. Duanmu Lin suddenly set his gaze on the mountain range and curiously asked, "All of us just sensed a huge, horrible aura coming from the interior of the mountain range. It was that thing, wasn't it?"
Yeah.
"It's the super demonic beast." Tang Xiu's expression turned solemn. "It's very powerful, much stronger than all the demonic beasts we've encountered previously." After hearing his confirmation, Duanmu Lin's face turned extremely ugly. Then, he quickly asked, "How powerful is it, exactly. You said you can fight those at the early stage of nascent soul. Do you have the confidence to kill it? No. It has power on par with experts at the late stage of nascent soul. Tang Xiu shook his head and explained, I think it can also match experts at the early stage of spirit formation as well. I'm not its match with my current power, let alone kill it. But still, I don't get something here. It has terrifying power, but why hasn't it led all the demonic beasts to attack us?